Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, and this video today is brought to you by myself and Rob Judge. And the title of this video is The 7 Most Deadly Texting Mistakes You're Probably Making with Women and What to Do About It. So the mistakes that we're going to be talking about in this video, I called them deadly because when you get a girl's phone number, or even when you've been dating her for a little while, texting becomes the number one form of communication. Whether you like it or not, it becomes how you communicate with her. And when you do this wrong, when you don't get it, when you make these mistakes, you not only kill the momentum, you not only possibly ruin your chances of even getting her to meet up with you, the attraction that she did feel towards you quickly disintegrates if you're not doing this right. When you make these mistakes and a girl pulls out her phone and she reads these sort of texts that I'm going to be talking about, you leave her thinking that you're just like every other guy out there. And not only that, you lose her attention. As we're going to talk about in this video, attention is the number one commodity in this day and age. A woman is distracted by so many things, by Facebook, by email, by phone calls, by constant barrage of instant messengers and chats and all this stuff, that you have to be able to keep her attention. Whether you've just met her or whether you've been dating her for several months, you always have to be able to keep her attention. And that's going to be a lot about what we're going to talk about in this video. You have to know how to do this by text message, or you're going to lose girl after girl. Now, I'm talking about this from experience. I had a girlfriend through the end of college, and when I got out of college, I really hadn't had that much experience texting girls because it was mainly my girlfriend, and, in college we lived, in dorms close by each other, so we saw each other often. There wasn't a lot of text communication there. After college ended and the relationship ended, I soon found myself feeling like a dating fossil because all of a sudden I had to be able to text girls and I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I made a lot of these mistakes that I'm going to be talking about in this video, and it wasn't until I corrected them that I began to see consistent results. So there's something that Rob and I call attractive communication. And this means taking all the attractive elements of normal conversation and sort of boiling it down into tiny little texts. And when you master this sort of a communication, you gain a massive advantage over all the other guys out there who are going to continue making the mistakes we talk about in this video. So right now, I want to talk about the 7 ways you're most likely killing your text conversations and what to do about it, because it's not just good enough to know the mistakes. You also have to know how to improve them and how to get over them and how to get better. So let's get into it. Deadly mistake number 1 is confusing responses with attraction. See, before you've had your first date with a girl, she won't feel much of a connection to you. As unfortunate as it may be, you're probably not the only guy texting her. You can be, however, the only guy who's texting her intelligently and attractively. See, a common mistake most guys make when they're texting a girl is that they mistake responses for attraction. And when a guy starts getting responses from a girl, he believes that he's getting closer to getting her out on a date or seducing her. And it's actually the opposite. It's actually the exact opposite. The more text you send before meeting up with a girl means the less chance you have of actually meeting her. That's right. Even if she's responding to your text, you're not getting yourself any closer to actually getting her out on a date. Instead, what you want to do is you want to say more with less. Whenever you're considering what to text a girl, see if you say it simpler, with less text. Most guys send pointless texts to women like, "How's your day?" or "Enjoying the warm weather?" These texts do not bring you any closer to a woman. They just beg for a response, which not only doesn't create any sort of emotional state in a woman, doesn't do anything to increase attraction, it also reduces attraction by displaying a sort of neediness and pointlessness that kind of annoys. Here's what you want to do. To make sure you never again waste text on pointless chatter, ask yourself this golden question. How is this text bringing the girl and I closer to a date? If your answer is simply to get to know her better, erase the text. It's not going to help you. Deadly mistake number 2, not conveying fun. Here's the thing. When a girl gives you her number, she was having fun with you. She enjoyed your company. She was probably thinking that, something could possibly come of this. But when she's away from you, when it's a day or two later, all those positive emotions that she felt when she was around you, they've started to diminish. She no longer has that amped up state that she felt. So when she gets your text, if it doesn't appear fun to her, she's not going to meet up with you. Because now she gets a text, and if she gets a boring text, she's going to just stay in that same state. She's going to think back on you. She's going to think, oh, he was an all right guy. He seemed kind of cool. But she's going to look at your text, and it's just not going to motivate her. Remember, all girls have tons of guys hitting on them, talking to them, try to get their attention. And human beings, we like naturally to be around the people we have the most fun with. And if you don't appear to be that guy, you're done. You're not going to get the date. She's not going to want to meet up with you. I like to say answering questions is not fun. When you send a girl a text like, how's your day going? There's nothing fun about that. She gets that text, and now she's got to stop. She's got to think, how do I respond to this? She's got to put her phone away and kind of be distracted thinking, all right, now and 2 minutes later you text her back, oh, that's good. And it's almost annoying. I mean, have you ever been out with your friends or been at work and you're getting these like short little texts that aren't really saying anything, and you have to respond, and then the person's going to text you back? It's not fun. The burden of keeping a conversation going is not fun. When you don't know when to stop, when you continually text her, sort of like what we talked about, confusing responses for attraction, when you continually to text her just because you're getting a response, you're not getting anywhere. You're putting that burden on her to keep the conversation going. It's not fun for her. She doesn't want to have to keep pulling her cell phone out and making small talk. Another thing that's not fun is blindly agreeing with her. If you're just agreeing with a girl without expressing any of your personality, and we're going to talk more about personality later in this video, but if you're just agreeing with everything a girl says, if she says, oh, I saw this movie, it was so good, and you're just like, yeah, it was a really good movie, nothing was accomplished there. So blindly agreeing with her is not fun. Don't be stiff and formal. That doesn't come across as fun. A lot of guys, after getting a girl's number on a Friday night, on the Monday following, they'll send her a text like, hi, nice to meet you Friday. That's very formal. It's very stiff, and it doesn't bring back any of those positive feelings she was feeling for you on Friday, and instead it makes her get that text and go, ugh, I don't want to deal with this. Choose words that convey fun. Telling a girl that she's pretty badass comes across as more fun than telling a girl, hey, you were really cute, or I really had a good time with you. Playfully tease her. Include her on inside jokes. So if something happened the first time that you met her, include that in the first text. Bring back that positive emotion. Convey that fun that she felt towards you, and it'll make it much more likely that she responds to your text. A lot of guys wonder why women sort of go cold after a good first meeting, and this is why. Because your first texts don't convey any sort of emotion or any sort of fun, and they're just come across as boring. Deadly mistake number 3, not having a texting style. Now, if you've seen Rob's examples of texts that he sent women, you know immediately that it's Rob sending it. It's a distinct style. It's a distinct language he uses, and he's very good at showing you how to use these, kind of develop your own sort of style. A woman should be able to know it's a text from you just by reading it. So when she pulls out a cell phone, without even seeing whose name it is, if she can't decipher whether it was you or Joe or Bob or Chris or Dylan who sent her this text, that is not a good sign. She should be able to just pull out her phone and immediately know, oh, this is him. And then a smile should appear on her face. I have a friend, Danny, that every time he texts me, he starts off every text with, yo, yo, yo. And I don't even have to see who it is. I know immediately it's him. It's always in this high energy, good mood. And it makes me excited to get the text. Whereas other guys send me, what up, hey, And you're like, it doesn't kind of make you want to even answer. An attractive woman gets dozens of texts per day, many of which are from other guys, and you need to be able to stand out, and you're not going to stand out sending her dry, normal text. Injecting your personality into a text is what puts a smile on her face. It's what gets her kind of excited to respond and to read your message. How do you do this? Well, you do it by choosing specific words that you use a lot. You use punctuation, specific types of punctuation, certain phrases, emoticons, all that are uniquely yours. You want to find a way of creating messages that people begin to know are you just by reading them without even having to look at who sent them. Deadly mistake number 4, having rational or long conversations over text. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes guys make. I do a lot of in-person coaching and a lot of email coaching with clients, and a lot of times they want to send me their text transcripts, and they kind of write out what their conversations were with these girls, and it's like reading a friggin' book. And as soon as I get these, I don't even have to read them half the time to know where they messed up. And it's just the fact that they're treating text messaging like a normal conversation. But texting is not the same as an in-person conversation, and it shouldn't follow the same pattern. What do I mean by this? I mean, when you introduce yourself to somebody, normally you're like, hey, what's up? How's it going? How you been? And you kind of go through a little bit of small talk. But with texting, you don't have time for that. It's annoying to go through, hey, how's your day going? Good. What are you up to? Not much. You have to just skip over all of that. And you have to jump right to the fun stuff. Like, I kind of say texting should be the super cool cliff notes of normal conversation and leave out all the formality. Meaning go right into an anecdote. Start with a teasing nickname. Start off by describing something funny that just happened to you. Don't start off by saying, how's your morning going? That's not going to do anything. Start off by telling something funny that happened in your morning. Get her in a good mood. And then go right into moving it forward. Like I said in the very first mistake is that you always have to be moving forward. Getting a response from a girl is not good enough. You've got to be moving it closer to the date. If you're already dating a girl, you've got to be moving it closer to the next date. You've got to be upping the attraction. You've got to be upping the sexual connection with her. Just getting a response, just getting her to write back, good, how are you, is not getting you anywhere. And you've got to drill this into your mind, because I know it's so easy when you start getting texts from girls or you start texting girls to fall into this pattern. I see it because I tell guys this, and then a week later they send me these long text transcripts again, and I'm like, what are you doing? Here's something I like to tell guys. The longer a conversation you have with a woman, the more chance you have to mess things up. The more likely you are to say things that confuses her, that kind of insults her accidentally, or that just leads to awkward confusion. See, the thing is that you're trying to show a woman over text message. You're trying to get her to pull out her cell phone and feel chemistry towards her. Now, in person, you have a little bit more time, so you can go through a little bit of this, formalities. But over text, you don't have that. So when she gets these kind of lame, like, how are you, how's your day going text, there's no chemistry. There's no connection. It's just dead air. It's hurting you more than it's helping you. Deadly mistake number 5, going for the meetup without first sparking an emotion. This is another huge mistake that guys make, and I see this all the time where guys will write me in and they'll say, Bobby, I met this girl, we got along really well on Thursday, so I texted her the next day to hang out, and she said she wasn't available or she didn't respond. And here's the problem that you're making when you do that. I think a good idea for you to do is write down that phrase, emotion equals attention equals action, and keep it in your wallet. And before you send a girl a text message, before you can get a girl to take action, you've got to get her attention. When you send her the text, you don't know what she's doing. You don't know if she's out on a date with another guy, if she's out with her friends, if she's sleeping, if she's driving, if she's at work, if she's in class. So when she gets your text, you're battling for her attention. And the only way to get it is by sparking an emotion, because emotion, when you feel something, all of a sudden you're paying attention. And once you feel something and once you're paying attention, then you can get action. But if you try to skip that, you're not going to get it. So a way I like to, an example I like to give is, let's say one of your friends sent you a text saying, hey, you want to go to the gym today? That's a very logic-based text. There's no emotion in there. So it's very hard to motivate yourself to take action or even to pay too much attention to it. But if the text said something like, spring break, 3 weeks away, hot girls waiting for us, let's go to the gym today, your emotions are pumped. You're thinking of spring break now. You're thinking of how you want to look good on the beach, and you're much more likely to say yes. And that's the way you have to sort of look at it with women. You have to pump her full of an emotion before you're going to get a yes out of her. If the question you ask is logical, you're going to get a no. Rob and I say logic equals no, emotion equals yes. If you ask her out without first sparking some sort of emotion, she's going to almost always turn it down because, like we said in the very first slide, it does not seem fun for her. And until it seems fun for her, she's not going to do it. So the best way to spark an emotion is with humor or flirting. Anytime you send something that puts a smile on her face first and gets her laughing, it gets you paying attention. Have you ever gone to see a speaker in front of the room? And no matter what the topic is, generally the speakers will start their speech off with some sort of humor because they know that when you say something a little bit funny, it gets people to pay attention. It gets them laughing, and then all of a sudden they're saying, okay, I'm going to pay attention now. Speakers almost never start a speech off just talking about the facts or what they're going to tell you. They start off with some kind of humor, and the really good speakers, they inject a lot of humor throughout the speech because they know that's what keeps you paying attention. Well, in the world of texting women, humor and flirting, and by flirting I mean teasing, saying things that are letting her know you're attracted to her in a fun, playful way. These are the juice of texting. These are what spark emotions, and you need to send these sort of texts before asking her out. You cannot ask her out before you've sparked an emotion. Deadly mistake number 6, becoming predictable. Never fall into predictable patterns. So what do I mean by predictable patterns? Here's some examples. You always answer her text back in a certain amount of time. So if she texts you, you always respond back within a few minutes, or you always make her wait a half an hour. Either way, you've set a pattern. Maybe you always send her a good morning text, or maybe you always send her a good night text, or maybe you always ask her how her day is. So maybe every day you're like, how'd class go today? How'd work go today? You're creating patterns. Now, patterns are really bad, but here's the good thing about patterns, that you can use them to your advantage, because the easiest way to lose her attention is by setting these patterns and becoming predictable. But the benefit is that when you've established a little bit of pattern, when you break them up, it gets her attention back. So if you always take a few minutes to respond and then suddenly now you're taking, you don't respond her to the next day, she's going to be glued on wondering why you didn't text her back, and it's going to kind of amp up that attraction. If you always text her good night before you go to sleep and then you don't text her good night, she's going to fall asleep waiting for that good night text. Had you sent it to her, she's going to think, oh God, another good night text. But because you didn't, all of a sudden she's wondering, what happened? Why didn't I get that today? So you want to mix things up. You don't want to send the same type of text. If you always send her these jokey texts, sometimes you want to send her something a little bit more serious. You want to break up the pattern. Don't become predictable, because when a girl thinks she figured you out, you lose her attention. People don't spend much time thinking about people who are predictable or one-dimensional. We spend a lot more time thinking about people who we can't really figure out. And you want to leave her always kind of guessing what your next move is going to be. So always mix things up. Deadly mistake number 7, thinking she's different. This is a very, very common mistake I see with guys that I coach. And guys always tend to think, well, I know what you said, Bobby. I know what you said, Rob. I went through your programs. I know it, but this girl, it's different. I don't have to use this stuff. Or they sort of rationalize a reason why it's okay to make the mistakes this time. And they start thinking things like, I know you said not to text her or call her too much, but we have this really good connection and it's different. It's never different. Paying her gushing compliments. I know you said to never send her gushing compliments over text messaging, but she really likes me and I think it's okay. No, it's not okay. I know you said to never message her exactly how you feel, but, I'm pretty sure she feels the same way and I want to let her know how I feel. No, it's not okay to send her a text telling her exactly how you feel, especially not early on in a relationship. I know you said that you have to propose a meetup, but I'm afraid that she's going to say no, so I think I have to send her a few more texts. Trust me, I get guys all the time when I start saying, propose the meetup. They say, she's going to say no, we're not ready yet. You should never be sending more than 3 texts without proposing a meetup. That rule always applies. All the rules that Rob and I teach in our magnetic messaging program, they apply all the time. And in the magnetic messaging program, Rob gives you a ton of examples. I mean, he basically pulls out 2 years worth of cell phone text conversations with the various girls. And trust me, Rob has been with dozens of girls in the past couple of years. And he shows you the exact texts he sent to get them into bed. And what's interesting and what you'll find is that he always sticks to the script. He always sticks to the system. And even when you might be reading that and saying, well, she said this, why didn't he just, pay her the compliment? Because Rob knows through experience that this works and that this continues to work and that there's no reason to deviate and that she's never different. You never think, the minute you start thinking she's different, you've lost. So the next question or the next sort of complaint I get from guys is, well, this is a lot of information you're giving us. You're telling us don't do this. How am I going to remember all this? It's so easy to send a boring text. Trust me, I've been there. I know that when you pull your phone out and you want to text a girl and you've got to kind of remember all these rules and things, it gets difficult. And that's why Rob and I put together this program, Magnetic Messaging, because we wanted to kind of create a step-by-step instructions for you. Something where we give you word-for-word examples of exactly what to send. And we teach you a very simple system that allows you to put texting on autopilot. And the reason I say it allows you to put texting on autopilot is because once you learn this system, and we call it the key lock sequence of 3 specific messages that you're going to use. And it doesn't matter if you're sending her the first text that you've ever sent her or if you've been dating her for a couple weeks. It doesn't matter. You're always going to stick to these 3 text sequence, which allows you to not have to wonder, well, what am I going to do? It's always, okay, this is what I have to send. And like I said, the program has plenty of examples. It has step-by-step instructions. I like to say it's like having private, uncensored access to Rob's iPhone, and you get to read through every text exchange and learn exactly why it worked. And when you see why it worked, you begin to think in a whole different way, and you begin to look at text messaging no longer as this sort of idle form of chit-chat, but as serving a very specific purpose. And every text you send begins to serve a very specific purpose. And what happens now is that you begin to get responses back from women that you can actually work with. You've probably realized that when you send women these sort of dry, boring texts, she gives you dry, boring answers back. And it's very hard to transition from that one word, oh, hey, LOL sort of answers that she's giving you into something that leads her to go out on a date with you and to get her back to your bedroom. But when you begin following this specific sequence the responses you're going to get back from her are going to make it a lot easier for you to quickly say, hey, let's do this tomorrow night. It's going to be fun. I'm going to take you here. Let's do it. And you're going to be shocked at how quickly you get back, okay, what time, when you're going to pick me up. That's the way the system was designed. On the link below, you can learn more about the system, find out exactly what it includes, and find out how it can help you transform your text conversations from something that is hurting you, something that's sort of deterring women from wanting to see you. And now you can begin to take women who weren't even really that into you. You can take girls who were only lukewarm, girls who were losing interest, and you can turn that around completely and now have them totally into you just by sending a few different sort of messages. So check it out. I think that if texting's something that is hurting you right now, and you know if you're not getting these girls out on dates that you get their phone numbers with, or if you're going on a date with a girl and you're not getting a second date, or you're losing these girls over text messaging, you know that you need help. And just check it out and see if this is something that can help you. I know that it can, because like I said, this is based on years worth of research, and it includes examples and instructions and exactly how to implement this 3-text system that Rob invented. Check it out.